Radio Télé Émergence. Ici, Radio Télé Émergence. C'est Radio Télé Émergence. C'est lui, oui. Ou besoin d'un professionnel réel dans les affaires d'assurance parce que dans les affaires d'assurance, pas gain, on se livre en chance. Nous recommandons rien seul là, Jean-Claude Jonassin, maître question dans le domaine d'assurance. Quelle que soit l'assurance, assurance machine, caille commerciale, vie, santé et la trière, prix compétitif, là, dans First Class Insurance and Financial Services, il y a un professionnel courtois, compétent et conséquent capteur là, Jean-Claude Jonassin, First Class Insurance, 6003 Babcock Street, Southeast Palm Bay, Florida, 321-727-8142, 321-727-8142, 41-42, First Class Insurance, c'est lui, oui. Ou besoin d'un professionnel réel dans les affaires d'assurance parce que dans les affaires d'assurance, pas gain, on se livre en chance. Nous recommandons rien seul là, Jean-Claude Jonassin, maître question dans le domaine d'assurance. Quelle que soit l'assurance, assurance machine, caille commerciale, vie, santé et la trière, prix compétitif, là, dans First Class Insurance and Financial Services, il y a un professionnel courtois, compétent et conséquent capteur là, Jean-Claude Jonassin, First Class Insurance, 6003 Babcock Street, Southeast Palm Bay, Florida, 321-727-8142, 321-727-8142.
Something or someone that we normally are not. It can change, cause us to modify our behaviors, and not necessarily in a good way, not necessarily the most desirable way, but we allow ourselves to be engulfed in that and end up doing what's called a disappearing act. We start to lose ourselves in such toxicity and ends up in sometimes detrimental results. So we need to kind of talk about that, right? When a relationship is severed, we often have to do some type of reflection when a relationship ends, whether it is a personal relationship, a professional relationship, is a relationship with family, or friends or relatives. Notice there's a big difference to me between relatives and family. But whenever, and even in a romantic relationship, when that relationship ends, all right, we got a phone call in already. Hold on a second. Hello, you are on the line with Dr. Larry. Who do I have on the line?
Jackie.
Jackie. All right, Jackie. Hi, Jack. Oh, how you doing, Jackie?
I'm fine. How are you?
All right. I know. Okay. So what's going on? The topic is about toxic relationships and how we have a tendency to kind of become something that we're not as a result of this toxic relationship. Sometimes we can lose ourselves in that, and sometimes we can become contributors to this toxic relationship. But what would you like to talk about?
True. I kind of listened to you talk about the toxic relationship.
You called to hear me talk? Okay. Well, you can watch. Yeah. You can watch this on Facebook. This right here is.
Well, I wasn't able to see it on Facebook. I clicked on it. I went to Facebook.
Okay. If you go to And in fact, we can send you the link where you can go ahead and link right into it. This right here,
Okay.
the phone call line is if you want to go ahead and tell me about your experience with toxic relationships. Since I have you on the line, go ahead and share with us. Tell us about your experience with a toxic relationship. No names. Don't give no
Okay.
names. All right.
Okay.
But yeah, in fact, in this discussion, anybody else wants to call in, numbers 321-216-6279. Tell us about toxic relationship, and then I have follow-on questions as well that we're going to have a toxic discussion. But go right ahead. Tell me a little bit about it.
Okay. Toxic relationships that I've been involved in was actually marriage, where you would actually have someone that was trying to control what you do. And I've actually been that person to say, no, that can't work. And the best thing for anybody that's in a toxic relationship is to get out of it.
Okay. Now for that, how long were you in this toxic relationship?
4 years.
Now, was this the person that you were in a toxic relationship with? Now, here's when a relationship ends, regardless of the type of relationship that it is, we do a self-reflection. What are some of the things that we did that weren't correct, that may have been, maybe the result for this, or what percentage of accountability or responsibility do you assume for that relationship being ending?
Not watching for the signs when the signs was already there.
So percentage, let's just say percentage-wise, at 100%, what, from 0 to 100%, about what percentage do you think that you have?
I think 100%. If you would have looked for the signs from the beginning, you wouldn't have never gotten into it.
You take 100% responsibility.
For the fact that I didn't look for the signs, not for the person being toxic.
Okay, you took 100% responsibility because you didn't look for the signs in that person.
Right.
Okay. The reason I asked that is because now, as far as things that happen in the relationship. Now, granted, yeah, were there? Did you exhibit any toxic behaviors, or did that toxic relationship take you out of character, and maybe you not even recognize some of the things that you were doing because of as a result of this?
Took me way out of character, but I returned.
How so?
By letting them go, and when it was over with, make sure you don't carry that into the next relationship.
And how long was that period? Did you
It took a couple of years. It took a couple of years before you need to get to know yourself all over again before you get into the next relationship.
Okay, and so so now after this relationship ended, have you and this person had any discussions after that, or was it just an absolute not dealt with each other anymore, or did a discussion take place after that to kind of get closer? Because I know a lot women, and it sounds kind of I don't know, cliche, or kind of like isolating, but women lean more towards needing closure than men do in a lot of cases. So like, did you try to seek closure, or was it just a mutual
No, I didn't need closure. I didn't need closure, and I think they needed more closure than I did.
Okay. So did they recognize did this
Yes.
person recognize that he had toxic behavior?
Yes.
And how long was the marriage?
4 years.
4 years. And when was the first? How long was the dating?
2 weeks. 2 weeks after the marriage is when you notice the toxic.
2 weeks after. So how long were you all dating or whatever prior to the marriage?
A couple of years.
So, and within those couple of years, there was no red flags or anything during that time?
There was red flags. Like I said, I ignored the red
Okay.
flags. That's why I take responsibility for it.
So 2 years prior to that, there were red flags there. You just kind of, and that's natural, because when we're new in relationships, there's certain things we overlook because we might tell ourselves, maybe I'm being too petty with this, or maybe it's not as big as we thought it would be,
Right.
maybe it's not as big as we might think it is. But then we start to find out later on, these things start to mushroom and start to develop into something that that was just a little crack in the door. But then after a while, that crack turns into the door being wide open and these behaviors start to just rush out.
Correct.
All right, all right. So you said you take 100% responsibility. Okay, all right. I appreciate your contribution to this conversation.
Okay.
Anything else you want to add to this? I sent the link to you, so you're able to watch this right there on the through the Facebook Live, and then also at the end, probably in a couple of days, so we actually post this and run it back on YouTube as well, so people can just watch this. Those that aren't able to watch it now. Of course, you're not able to call in, but you'll be able to watch all of this.
Okay.
That's on there. I appreciate you calling in.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas.
Call back. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Goodbye.
All right. Well, as I was saying, you know, when relationships fall apart, and just as I asked Jackie here, what responsibility or what degree of responsibility do we take? Because I had a caller a couple weeks ago say they took zero responsibility, and that's fine. They took zero responsibility. But I also had, you know, some people say that, you know, people just neglect to take responsibility and want to blame so much onto everyone else, take no responsibility for what it is. I applaud Jackie for calling in saying, hey, you know, she takes 100% responsibility because she did not recognize the signs. So now that opens up the door to another question. How far do we go, or how far have we gone into relationships after recognizing the signs before we actually take some kind of action and say, hey, you know, this might not necessarily be working. So how long do we go before we actually take some kind of an action and say something or do something regarding this? I'm being told there is no sound. Okay, hold on one second. Let me see if we can get this. Are you, if you're able to hear me, go ahead and post that in the chat here, and I can anyone hear me? If you can hear me, put it in. Okay. Okay, put it in here, they can hear. Okay. So now I have okay, Ivan put down in here, which makes sense, you know, but the reasons, yeah, what are the reasons for, and he brings up some good examples here. What are some reasons, or when relationships fall apart, what are some of the reasons for that? Again, the level of responsibility. None of us are without fault or beyond error. Even when the relationship ends and the grounds of adultery or something like that, there's still some type of responsibility we may have for that. For example, we may say, you know, we may have been with this person for a while and we consistently worked out or something like that. Then all of a sudden we start to let ourselves go. Or we started to, as far as getting hair done, things like that, and then all of a sudden we stop doing these things. We no longer, because we no longer work out, because we no longer do our hair, or wear makeup, whatever, the person no longer finds us attractive. Or we used to, things that we used to do that this person once found attractive, regardless of what they are, male or female, and now we stopped doing these things, this person no longer finds that attractive, and then they find this, you know, someplace else. Am I saying that it's right? Of course, it may not necessarily be right. However, I have a call coming in. All right. Okay, you are on the line with Dr. Larry. I'm in the booth all by myself today. Who do I have on the line?
Good morning, Dr. Thomas. Dexter Hooks, calling from Manila in the Philippines. How are you?
My man from the Philippines. What's up, Dexter?
Hey, same old stuff going on. Hey, you know what? I like this topic. As I always state before I comment, just anything I say is my opinion. And my opinion is always open to be challenged. So here's what I would challenge the listeners today. When we talk about a toxic relationship, I look at relationships the same way I look at a pie or a cake.
Sweet.
When you have a pie or a cake and it's two people involved, what percentage of that pie and what percentage of that cake do the two people share? Does one person eat the whole pie does one person eat the whole cake? Or is there a certain percentage of that pie and that cake that they share? Meaning, I understand wholeheartedly, especially when it comes to interpersonal relationships, that there will always be that one individual that shares the majority of the blame for the relationship going south. Makes perfectly good sense. But here's what I challenge people to think about and call in. Rather than look at that greater percentage of what happened in their relationship, what the other person did, what percentage did they have that contributed to it? Now, some people may say, I had absolutely none. I did everything 100% right. Well, I would challenge anybody that says that, because there's only one person that I'm aware of that walked the face of this earth that did something 100% right. And of course, not getting into religious aspect, but I mean, you know, those of us that believe in Christ.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, I'm challenging our listeners, to include myself, by the way. I'm challenging them to say, okay, let me look in that mirror, and what percentage of that pie, what percentage of that cake associated with the relationship that I was in should I take some responsibility? Now, it may be very minute. It may be something that they were not aware of. But look in that mirror and reflect back on, you know, when the relationship went south. Did it go south totally because of the other person? You know, what did you contribute to that? Now, I will say this here. Many of us, to include myself, do not like to point out the flaw we had. Okay? And that makes perfectly good sense, because the person that truly destroyed the relationship gave up. Now, when they gave up and they went about their merry way, so they thought, okay, can we actually look at ourselves and say, wait a minute, I did this? Because I can tell you right now, I'm 66 years of age, and I can reflect back on a number of relationships, whether it was personal, professional, where I actually was a part of the problem. The thing is, can we face that problem?
Well,
I will be the first, just a second, Larry. I will be the first to say that the most destructive tool, apparatus we have in today's society, and it's been our society for quite some time now, believe it or not, is the mirror. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Sometimes we can actually lie to ourselves that we have absolutely no responsibility in that toxic relationship. Whether that, you know, I go back to my pie theory, okay? There is always a percentage, whether that percentage be 50%, 70%, 0.01%. What did we do that was a contributing factor to that toxic relationship? The bottom line is, every relationship at some point, what goes on is what? A complaint. There's always a complaint. So even though that person that destroyed your relationship, okay, and I'll buy that, that person destroyed your relationship, can you look back in that mirror and say, when he or she complained, was I listening?
okay. Now that may depend on first and foremost. Yeah, and that could depend on the quality of the complaint. And yeah, are we listening? Do we hear it, or are we actually listening to what the person is actually saying? But now, also, and it's very important, as I said, yeah, you know, we do assume some type of responsibility. Nobody likes to be told that they have an ugly baby. You know what I'm saying? Meaning, nobody wants to actually take that hard look and face maybe hard facts that, or no one wants to hear negative behaviors. No one wants to, no one wants to be honest with themselves, and a lot of times we can chalk that up to pride. Sometimes pride will have us believe that we are never at fault, but then we have to also take into account as well, hey, if you don't take some kind of responsibility, and again, it could be zero responsibility, but if you don't assess it and you just say, you know what, it's not me, it's everybody else is wrong, this and that. Well, we have to accept the fact also that that's narcissistic behavior, that's toxic within itself, and so we need to be aware of that. We need to be aware of ourselves and what role we play in our relationship. And do we bring any toxicity into a relationship?
And let me add something, Dr. Thomas.
I'm getting some kind of feedback or something. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let me add something. There is no doubt, especially when it comes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. Go right ahead.
Okay, there is no doubt, especially when it comes to man and woman relationship, especially when it comes to marriage. There is absolutely no doubt that I believe, with actually no factual data from a numerical standpoint, I believe that the female, in many cases, her life is turned upside down as a result of being in a relationship when she's trying to be controlled. I truly believe that exists. That being said,
that goes both ways.
At the end of the day, can we look at, can they look at each other and say, well, I did all the cooking, I did all the cleaning, I actually had a job, I came home, I took care of the kids, I did everything I was supposed to do as a loving wife. That is true from their perspective. But now let's look at the perspective out of doing all that stuff that any man would treasure, would love to be with. At what point, as it was going south?
Let me stop you right there, Dexter.
Can they say themselves?
Dexter. Hold 1 second.
What did not he like?
Hold 1 second. Dexter.
Maybe they thought they did it all. At what point can they say themselves, did they listen when a complaint came in? Regardless of how minute that complaint was, okay? Did they listen? Now, it doesn't mean it's their fault for the breakup. Not at all. That's not what I'm saying. So if there's a female listening, hear my words. I am not saying it's your fault. But what I am saying, since I brought up the fact about marriage, what I am saying, in that marriage, can you look back and say, of all the things that you thought you've done that was correct, of all the things that you've done that you thought as a queen you should have been respected, as you should have been, what portion of that pie is yours?
Now, Dexter,
that was contributing factor? Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say this, right? Because we're not pushing any specific agendas here. Marriage could be any, male, female, male, female, female, several different dynamics. And we're not pushing specific gender roles. One person needs to cook, one person doesn't need to cook. That's just an example. Basically, it's something that you used to do that you no longer do. And this person may have said something, and we didn't really understand the magnitude or how heavily that person weighed the value of that to the relationship, and ended up, being the way it was. Is that pretty much what you're saying, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So now, and a lot of times you will hear, regardless, and I want to hear some males call in on this and some females, as well, some young ladies and gentlemen call in as well, because here's the thing, a lot of times when relationships do fall apart, more so than not, we'll hear the male say, you know, I did this, I did that wrong, you know, even if it's adultery or something like that, on the part of the young lady, it would be something like, you know, well, maybe I worked too much, maybe I didn't spend too much time, maybe I was doing too much of these things, I didn't spend enough time with her, and you would hear on the other, you hear the men say that, but very seldom would you hear from the other side saying, well, this person did these things because I stopped doing these things, or I stopped doing that thing, I stopped doing this stuff. And we have to take that hard look at ourselves and say, what is it that what is our level of responsibility? What do we take accountability for with that relationship demise? And again, you know, it could be 0, could be 50, could be 20. But we need to do that hard assessment and come to that, you know, do that reality check with ourselves. So,
and Dr. Thomas, before I go, I want to clearly point out to those that are listening, those that were hurt tremendously as a result of being in a toxic relationship. Okay, I want to point out that it's not a blame game that I'm trying to disseminate in terms of what percentage is yours. It's not a blame game.
no.
But I truly believe that to move forward on a toxic relationship is far more than just moving forward physically. Is moving forward mentally. Is moving forward to when the next relationship comes into play. As the wonderful young lady stated, I'm assuming she's young. I'm 66, so I'm assuming she's young. But anyway,
Yeah, she's pretty young. Kinda young.
Okay, as Miss Jackie was saying, okay, she has moved forward, and she has no regret. I'm kind of paraphrasing. I don't think she used the word regret, but anyway.
Go ahead.
She has a point. She has a point. But when she also spoke about not seeing the signs, okay, that makes good sense as well. Because in many toxic relationships, you don't see the signs until you know it's blown out of proportion. But where I'm coming from, when you move forward mentally and you're trying to establish a life elsewhere, you have to have a checklist, a mental checklist of what you went through before. And part of that checklist must be about yourself. What about yourself in the percentage of that pie? When you put that checklist together, when you move on with someone else, what percentage of that pie, regardless of how small, will you turn around and make it better for not just yourself, but the person you plan on being involved with in the future? And that's all I got. I really want to hear other people call in. I want to hear other people type in, text, whatever the case may be. But I would like people to focus on their percentage. Not what the bumblebee head did, okay? Their percentage. And that's all I got.
All right, thanks a lot. Now here,
Always.
I encourage anybody to call in. It is the number is 321-216-6279. Now, thanks a lot, Dexter. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy.
All right, thanks for tuning in. Bye. All right. Well, the thing we need to, and someone put here in the chat, we know the signs, we just overlook the signs, right? Well, and the signs usually there, we overlook them and try to justify them. Again, as I said earlier, we see some of these signs and early in the relationship. However, we decide, or we we kind of talk to ourselves and maybe say, hey, you know, maybe that was just a fluke. Maybe this person just happened to do this, or I don't want to make this out to be more than it probably was. And you know, it's in the early stage of the relationship, but then we find out later on, like how the first caller, once you're engulfed in this relationship, then you find out that that was just a foreshadowing of what was to come, right? So now a question that I have is, in addition to all of that, when you're in a toxic relationship, because again, we start to lose ourselves sometimes when we're in these relationships with toxic individuals. So now what do? Right? When we're in these relationships, do we match that toxicity and go tit for tat with this individual? Or at what point do we say, you know something, enough is enough, and we move on? Now here's some of the things, and someone pointed here in the chat, it was, let's see here, it was Ivan, put here in the chat, well, a couple things that I see here that's in the chat. I think these are pretty good talking points too. When we go into, and this is very important, when we go and we notice some of these things, we know some of these toxic behaviors at the beginning, right? We start to get into the mode where, oh, you know, I can change that, or we can change individuals. But you shouldn't go into a relationship hoping to change a person, right? Because that almost never, ever works. A person does not change who they are. If anything, they become more of who they really are. Things very seldom cause us to change, but they start to cause our behaviors to become more emerged once we become more comfortable with the situation, whether it's controlling something, whether it's talking down, or some type of erratic behaviors. We start to just, you know, expand on this behavior, not necessarily diminish it. But as we look here, some of the ways that we deal with some of these toxic relationships, as I see here, let's see, what did he put here? This person here says what they do is make a plan to leave. I don't need to match toxicity because it can end up being just as toxic. I encourage any of you all call in 321-216-6279. I'd love to hear from you and have you kind of unpackage that a little bit. The person that's here in the chat that mentioned this is, okay, my device here doesn't necessarily want to cooperate with me. All right, Shalita, what I want to know is how far, and call in by all means, discuss this. I want to know how far in do you decide to, I mean, what is the final straw? In the past, what has been the final straw that has caused you to develop this exit plan? How long into it before you develop this exit plan and you say, you know what, enough is enough. It's time to go. Also, again, what level of toxicity might we, you know, bring into these relationships as well, right? And these are things that we need to maybe look at. Ways that we deal with it. You know, one of the signs you may be in a toxic relationship is when sometimes you feel like you're walking on eggshells all the time. You're walking on eggshells all the time because you know this person is going to do something erratic if you don't do what it is they want you to do because this person is controlling, etc. Right? That's one of the signs there. But now as we look here, and I even put a link in here, right, and it's talking about like the signs of a toxic relationship. But some of the signs that we tend to overlook. We tend to overlook things like when someone talks down to us or talks, patronizingly to us, right? They don't speak faith or speak support into us. They don't speak life into us. What they actually do is speak the total opposite into us and leads to, you know, a detriment, right? They're not supportive of us and of our, they're, as I spoke on a show a few weeks ago, they're a dream killer. This person doesn't speak life into you, doesn't want to see you do well. They see you more as a competitor than as a partner. And that, I mean, that's one of the signs. Another sign is just toxic communication, right? Toxic communication where the person is talking down to you, not necessarily talking to you. They see you as someone that's beneath them. We could even say narcissism, right? And part of that, narcissism is part of the reason why some people don't want to take responsibility. They may, as far as bearing some degree of responsibility for what goes wrong in a relationship, it's very easy for someone to point the finger at someone else and say, you know what, this person did this wrong, this person did that wrong, this person did me wrong, they're the sole reason that this happened. It's very easy to point the finger at someone else, but a lot of times we don't want to. We don't want to point the finger at ourselves. We don't want to evaluate ourselves to see where what role did we play in this going on. Envy or jealousy, right? People that envious of your success. They're not a team player. They see you as a competitor, as I said before. So they're not there along with you on the journey. They're with you as long as they can still be ahead of you, to still have some type of edge where they feel that they're competing against you, right? When you start to see, and these are things that we tend to overlook in the early stages of relationships, and we don't have these discussions. We don't call out this behavior. We just inadvertently or misguidedly think that this behavior is going to change over time, and we know it seldom does, right? Dishonesty. When you deal with a person that is dishonest, if someone is dishonest with you over things that are small, then and it's always said, if you can't manage things that are small, then you're definitely going to have issues managing things that are on a larger scale. But someone's going to. I have a call coming in. Hold on. Hello, you on the line with Dr. Larry. I'm in the booth by myself today. Who do I have on the line?
This is Tawanda.
Tawanda, how are you doing this evening?
I am well. How are you?
Doing good. Glad to be back on the air. Wanted to bring this topic back. A lot of people had stuff to say, and I want to give people a platform to say it.
Well, what are we discussing, or is it like an open topic, or?
Oh, I thought, okay. We're talking about toxic relationships.
Oh, okay. So we bringing that.
We spoke about it a couple weeks ago, and we talked about like when relationships go bad, what degree of accountability do we accept, and also things that we overlook early on in the relationships.
Oh, okay.
And we overlook the signs. At what point do we decide, something, enough's enough, or when we the things that take place. So right now, I was discussing some of the things we tend to overlook. We tend to overlook, people talking down to us. When the person that you're with sees you as a competitor rather than a partner. They're envious of your success rather than seeing themselves as part of your team, and that when you succeed, we all succeed. Jealousy, patterns of disrespect.
Okay.
Dishonesty. When a person is dishonest with you, you can't trust a person, because if at the bare minimum, if a person has nothing else, they have their word.
Right.
And if you say you're going to do something, me personally, I'm big on that. And some may say I'm big to that to a fault. If I say I'm going to do something, I ensure that those things happen. Right.
Right.
And I'm not perfect. People around me would tell you I'm not perfect. Far from that. However, I work to getting better every day. But go ahead. But I'm going through these things.
Okay. So I only can speak about myself. I can't speak about what others may be feeling. I only can talk about myself and what I've been through with my toxic relationships. And as I spoke on these a few weeks ago, being in a toxic relationship, and so many years I was in a toxic relationship, and how I seen the signs so early on in the marriage. I noticed the signs the second year in marriage. I noticed the toxic the relationship was
this
going
was
was
so this was 2 years. Excuse me, 2 years into the marriage is when you noticed the toxic behaviors.
yes, I
Now,
noticed it, the
now
signs.
were these behaviors, were these, as you reflect back, were these behaviors that may have presented themselves earlier and you happen to overlook those behaviors? Because we tend to do that. We'll see these things earlier in a relationship and think that, maybe I'm being too petty, maybe I'm being too picky, maybe that I don't want to make this out to be more than it actually is. Or is this something that just all of a sudden, out of the blue, this new behavior just emerged? Because
No, sir.
Because a
No.
lot of times when we get comfortable, that's
Mhm.
when, we normally don't change, but as we get more comfortable, more of us comes out.
No, sir. No, sir. It was none of that. When I met my husband, it was none of that. This was like all new for me. Like I said, I met my husband away. I'm not from Connecticut. I met him at school when I was away and came back home. He was still the same person and the same person I fell in love with. So the things that I tended to look different. Things changed up when we came back home. Um, like I said, within the 2 years. So when he came back home up here, I started to once he got a job and once my daughter was born, things started to look different. Um, and things started to change pretty much quickly after that. So no, I mean he was still the same person. Um, and that's when things started to change. When like I said, I decided to stay. I thought maybe I can change him, and I found out that you can't change a man, you can't change anyone who's not willing to change themselves. So a lot of things I learned from that, and going through the divorce proceedings, I'm jumping years ahead. That that I couldn't no longer stay into a toxic relationship, and I also know that I had um, to stop it. I needed to let everything go right there, and that in the courthouse, I had to let everything go. I couldn't bring anything else if I was going into another relationship. I couldn't bring anything else into a new relationship because it would not be unfair. It wouldn't be fair to the next person that I bring something old into something new.
Okay.
And
How long
and
has
I
it been a year?
find a lot of women do that. Not so much men, and but I find a lot of women do that. They find that it's hard to trust other men because they feel that they're going to do the same thing that happened to that person. They think the men are going to do the same thing that they ex did, and that's not fair for them. So a lot of women need to stop that
Okay,
because
hold
that's
on.
not fair.
Hold on. So now, what I want, because now you said, you know, women, not men,
You okay,
carry,
mother?
hello?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just watching my
You're saying,
grandmother.
you're saying men, well, women more so than men carry this stuff in their relationships where they don't trust someone else because of what the previous person did to them. Basically, they carry this baggage into the next relationship, and so we need to stop doing that, right?
Yeah, it's okay, mother, because you took that medicine. Yes, sir. That's what I
Okay.
said.
So what I want some, because I will tell you, I disagree with that, and but it's not me. I want to hear some fellas call in, 321-216-6279. Call in and give me your
Just
opinion on
slow
that.
down.
Because here's why I disagree with that. I will say, arguably, women may be more expressive of that, but guys carry a significant amount of baggage too. Because
I never seen that
as
happen.
we know, and that's the thing. That's the thing, because most men, we're taught to hide those feelings and things. We're taught to hide those things and to deal with those on our own. Versus, women are taught, or society, as some believe, is more accepting of women being more expressive of of their hurt, their pain, and stuff like that. Where guys are expected to, in the term, man up or deal with, whatever situation that we're dealing with, and you deal with that privately. But in essence, we bring that back into our relationship, in the future relationships, and I think we all need to stop that. But we tend to bring this stuff into relationships as well. We just don't make as big of a deal with that. So
Okay.
it works because and here's the thing: men carry a lot. And I want some of the fellas to call in and give me your perspective on this, and tell me if I'm right. If I'm wrong, you disagree, that's fine too. Call in, I want to hear it, because here's the thing, right? Guys carry a lot of baggage, but we just don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. And one thing that I noticed, and correct me if I'm wrong, what women do when you have these issues and stuff, you go and you talk to other women about these things, or you look for comfort or consolation from other women. You talk to them, girl, he did this, he did that, and these things happen. Am I correct?
Now, no, in some instances, you are right. A lot of men do that, but a lot of men have a hard time saying when they're wrong.
Oh,
Now, we talked about this. We talked about this, and you and I had a big disagreement with that, because the person that I was with, I was saying to this day, he never, to this day, and for the 32 years that we were, we would have been together, to this day, he said that he was never wrong. It was all me. Now, you said that 50%, maybe 90% of the men that they would say that they were wrong. And you said that, okay, one finger points at them and two always back to the other. What the women do have an input, they had to do something wrong. And I had told you that's not true.
Here's my question.
Because I didn't do anything wrong to make my marriage go wrong.
Here's my question.
So that statement.
Hello? Here's my question. He does not take responsibility for the marriage for the marriage falling apart, right?
Right.
He says that it's all your fault, right?
Yeah.
Why
That's what he say.
Why does he say that?
Why does he say that?
Yeah.
Because he has an ego. He doesn't want to make himself look bad.
Hold up. I got a call coming in. Hold on.
I can't hear you.
I have a call coming in. Hold on. Hello. Who we got calling in? You on the line with Dr. Larry.
Larry?
Hello? Hello?
Yes, this is Larry.
Okay.
How you doing?
Larry?
Tawanda, can you hear me?
Larry?
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Tawanda? Hello, Tawanda, can you hear me?
Yes, Larry.
Okay. Hold on a second, Tawanda. I got somebody else calling in. Who's on the line right now?
I can't.
Who was that just called in?
Yes, this is Ivan. I'm in here in the conversation.
All right. I got a fella calling in. Let's hear what you got to say, Ivan.
Yeah, I just want to take a second to your comment. I understand your what you experienced with your past relationship, man. But please don't label that for all men that all men don't own up to their mistakes or own up to their faults or are perfect. Not all guys think that. That's unfortunate that you experienced with your situation, but don't label that the whole men in general that are married or in relationships don't.
Oh, no. I didn't say that. I mean, I'm a Christian woman, and I love the Lord, and those that are not in God, that don't believe, and my husband was not a believer. And for those that are not believers, they have a harder time. And if I truly believe we were not easily evening yoke, if you know what that means. Um, I was, like I said, I based my marriage off of the Christians that I should have, and he didn't. And because of that, we are not evenly yoked. And I didn't say that. I just said that those that are not don't love the Lord, or for those that are not raised in that way, will never ever understand, and they would think that the other person would do everything wrong because of the fact that they would never own up to it. So I didn't say all men are that, and they're not.
Okay, hold up.
You have some
Hold up.
you have some good men out there that will say when they're wrong, they're wrong.
Now here's the thing, right? He points the finger he points the finger at you said your significant other points the finger at you, saying that you're the reason the relationship was over, right? But why does he say that? Does he? I mean, what did he ever get an explanation? He just said it's your fault and that's it, or they say it's your fault because A, B, C, and D. What was the outcome? What is his justification for blaming you?
Larry, I told you. I mean, we had several conversations. This person assumed that I did something wrong, or I stepped out of the marriage only because how I looked, or only because how guys came up to say, "Oh, ma'am, you're very beautiful," or "Oh, wow, Mister, oh, you are so lucky to have someone by your side," or "You're so lucky to have her."
Okay.
Wrong way. He is
Hello.
a relationship with them.
Okay, I understand. Okay, it's understandable. All right, Ivan, what would you like to contribute to this?
Well, obviously, I think in your situation, ma'am, I think, and I hate to be looking at your situation, but it's unfortunate. It seemed like he wasn't ready to listen to what you had to say. He was just stuck on what on his perception and his beliefs, and he was set. Whatever you could have done, what you could have said, it would have changed nothing. So think of it as a blessing that you got out of that right now. But I implore upon you, don't label that to your next or future or next relationship or any future relationships that you have. Just give everyone a chance, and don't think that the next person is going to do the same.
Oh no! Oh wait! Oh wait a minute! I don't know where you got that from. I was just making a point. Oh no, honey! I know where my words. I know where my health insurance comes from. I would never. I was just making a point from what Larry and I what we had discussed months ago, and I was just responding from a question that he asked me about how women perceive themselves, or how women may be thinking. I'm not in that category, baby. I know definitely where my health insurance comes from. I know. I know. My next husband. I'll know within. If I'm on, just say if I'm on a dating, I'm going on a date. I'll know within the date or the next date if that person's for me or not. I mean, that's how close I am, with the Lord, because God will let me know. Anyway, I'm not out there searching. God will send if I am waiting, if I am in the line or wait of meeting someone, God will bring it to me anyway. So I would never do that. I would never bring anything old into something that God's going to bring something new to me. And that's what I was trying to say to the women too. Never bring anything old into something new, because it's not fair for the men. It's not fair.
That's good to hear. All right.
Wait a minute.
That's very good to hear.
Okay, yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for calling in.
All right.
The both of you. I appreciate it. So someone asked a very interesting question, and I want again, call in 321-216-6279. But a question that came up, okay, when you were complimented, right? When you were given a compliment, Tawanda, you there? Hello?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when you were given a compliment, what was your response? Just thank you. Or what was your response?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just say, thank you so much, and and just kept on, going on with myself, and kept going,
Okay.
not giggling, not smiling, not focusing on the comment, nothing to make Aaron, because I knew how he was,
Don't
and
say no names.
nothing to make.
Don't say no names.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Nothing to make him, to get all hot and bothered. Nothing like that.
Okay. So we're talking about God will send someone that will be equally yoked.
Of course he will.
Okay. I'm not delving into that. That's going to be a whole different show right there. That equally yoked stuff, right? That's going to be a different show. But it's definitely going to be a topic of discussion on the horizon, because there are a lot of opinions on that equally yoked statement. Because we sit around, we say all the time we're going to wait around for God to send us something, or send someone to us. But
it's the truth.
But we say all the time that we're going to wait for God to send something to us, this and that. But then, in the same note, we're quick to say that for somebody, in order to be successful, you got to get out there and get in the fight and get in the game. So
say that again.
Yeah, in order for us to be successful in anything that we do, we have to get out there and put ourselves in the situation to get involved and get in the game to be accessible. So, and I'm not saying that you're not, but what I'm saying is, for opportunity, luck or things coming to you is when hard work meets opportunity. So when we put ourselves out there in situations to be, I hear a lot of people say, yeah, I'm waiting for the right man to find me. I'm waiting for the right woman to come my way.
That's right.
I have yet to see someone walking down the street and a woman fall in their arms. I have yet to see somebody, you know what I'm saying? You have to be in that situation. Oh, I got a call coming in. Hold on. All right, you on the line, Dr. Larry. Who is Tawanda? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, who do I have on the line?
Hey, Larry, it's Dexter again.
It's Dexter back. What's up?
Hey, I was actually getting ready to make breakfast, and chill out, but this topic has come in.
Send some over here.
All right, I hear you. Now here's the bottom line. I got all the texts I've seen. I've got it what Tawanda's saying. I've got it what everybody, Ivan said, the whole 9 yards. But again, I think we're missing the picture, and we seem to do this constantly on this show. Here is the topic. The topic is based on what responsibility can you lay claim to, regardless of how small, regardless of how large it was when you were in your toxic relationship. Earlier, I gave a metaphor of a pie. If two people are eating a pie, okay, does one person eat all the pie, or does one person eat a certain percentage of that pie? Now, I will agree that generally speaking, especially, and this is from a man's perspective, okay? From a man's perspective, I will agree that in many cases, in my 66 years on this earth, okay, of those 66 years, only probably 20 of those years did I become a real man.
Mm-hmm.
And I want everybody to hear that. Those 66 years, only 20 of those years did I become a real man and understood the faults that I made, the mistakes that I made, people I hurt, and in particularly the women I hurt. So I want to make this perfectly clear. At the end of the day, that pie has a certain percentage of fault. Now, it could be minute. You know, men as an example, love to say they don't like nagging. Okay? I think that's a weak excuse. I think that's a weak excuse to ruin your marriage. I really do. But you want to know something? You want to know something, guys? It's also a fact. It's also a fact. Men have this ego. We don't like nagging. We don't like nagging. So if you tell us to go cut the grass, we got a problem with that because we're gonna cut the grass when we feel like cutting the grass.
That's
now,
right.
Again, that's a weak excuse. And my sister Tawanda, if you're listening, I think you're listening. I think I hear you.
She hear you.
But the bottom line, Tawanda, is I think what Larry is asking you, out of that percentage of the horrible things you went through, just like Ivan said, we cannot speak on what you actually went through.
That's right. You can't.
Now, whether you express that in this conversation on the show, that's totally up to you. But what I am saying, there will always be a certain percentage in a relationship that attribute to the relationship going bad, and it's not always 100% on the man or the woman. So now, and Tawana, you've heard me before. You know, I love using the metaphor mirror, mirror on the wall. Sometimes we can look in that mirror and tell ourselves something that's false. So whether I'm talking to my lovely sister Tawanda, and you know I love you, girl. Whether I'm talking to you, or I'm talking to someone else, another sister that's listening, okay? I got it. The man did you wrong. I got it. But look in that mirror, regardless of what percentage it is, and say to yourself, what exactly did I do? So now we go back to a mental checklist. And I said that earlier before you called in, sister girl. A mental checklist. Just like you said, don't bring the bad baggage into the next relationship. I believe everybody listening will agree with that. But here's what my mental checklist always considers. It also considers not so much what the other person did not do, but what did I did not do. So when I go into that next relationship, oh, by the way, and I'm in that relationship right now. That's why I'm over here with my lovely wife. Did you hear what I said earlier? I did not become a man till 20 years ago. So I put that mental checklist together. And guess what? I am living the most wonderful life with the most wonderful person I ever met. And I pray to God every day. I pray to God every day that my ex-wife rest in peace. That I did not have the opportunity to be the man to her that I am to where I'm at right now. And I'm going to stop preaching. I want other people to call in, chime in, and what I would really like to hear. Can I, as an individual, and I'm talking about the people that are listening, can I, as an individual, at least admit, and you don't have to give all the details, there was a certain percentage that I contributed to, regardless of how small. I'm out. Love you, Twanda. Love you, Larry. I'm out, but I'm still listening.
All right. So now, a question got asked here. Thanks a lot, Dexter. All right. Question is, we talked about equally yoked, right? How do you find that person is equally yoked? How do we find that person?
because
and what?
Mary, it says it in the Bible.
But
If you read, it's no but. There's no but.
no,
God tells us that if we are equally yoked with our better halves, we will not have the problems that we have now with our better halves. So there's no but. So there's no but. There's no nothing with this. There's no fight with me or with you.
I'm not
So if you
fighting.
want to disagree with it, I'm the wrong one to talk to about this
I'm
because
not trying to disagree with you. I'm giving a very perspective, and I want and anybody else can call in. But now here's the thing. I understand the Bible says equally yoked, but now as we
you
as
have
we
to
go,
be equally yoked.
I know
If you're
people.
not equally yoked, okay, we had this. We talked about this maybe like maybe a year ago. You're not okay. You and your wife, you guys are. I can't remember. No, you said that you guys are not somewhat in the church life, and
No,
you're doing fine.
we're not practicing.
Right. That's what you said.
Wait,
Right.
I got a call
So
coming in. Hold on a second.
okay.
All right, you on the line with Dr. Larry. I'm in the booth by myself today. I got Tawanda on the line, a caller. Who is this on the line right now?
Hey, this is Shalita.
Shalita, how you doing, Shalita? I saw you very active in the chat, right? And yeah, glad to hear from you. What would you like to add to the discussion? Can you
I
hear
would
me,
like to add.
Hold up. Can you hear me, Tawanda?
Oh.
Yes, I can.
Okay, awesome. Go right ahead, Shalita.
Well, for one, I understand equally yoked as well. I agree. If that's your belief, how did the first relationship fall apart if you were the believer and he was not?
Now
You knew.
Wait.
Hmm?
Wait. Before we go further, because here's the
She's
thing.
right.
Here's the
She's
thing.
right.
Well, no,
She's absolutely right.
I'm not
She's
saying-
absolutely right.
I'm not.
Let her finish, Larry. Let her finish.
Let me hold on. Now, what I'm saying, I understand the equally yoked part, stuff like that, but I know of a couple. That have a good relationship. She is a Christian.
Yes.
He is an atheist.
Yes.
Okay, but
And they
you
have,
don't let.
they have a good quality relationship. Yes, I'm on the outside looking in. I'm not in their relationship, but they appear to be raising their kids. I'm engaged with kids. The kids, don't tend to have any behavioral problems, anything like that. So with that evenly yoked part, I want you to go ahead and continue.
Well, in my opinion, equally yoked what may be equally yoked for you in your relationship may not be equally yoked for somebody over there.
Amen.
So,
Right.
just because he's an atheist doesn't mean he doesn't have certain morals, have certain beliefs that she shares as well.
Right.
It doesn't always mean that, we have to believe in God. Their equally yoked is something different from what she's talking about.
Okay.
And I was,
Right.
That was my point.
I was wondering because I understand what she's saying because I've been there.
Right.
So I was just asking from her situation, how did it happen where if you're a believer in evenly yoked and he's not a believer, you are, how did you end up with him?
Right.
Because you
Right.
saying,
So
he was one way at a certain
Right.
point.
Okay, so yeah, you're absolutely right, my friend. So, growing up in church all my life, and and he did too in some ways, but he stopped going to church. He stopped, going, and I knew, back of your head, you know these things if you know what I mean. I've been, get up Sunday morning, you go to Sunday school, Bible study, you go to prayer meeting, you know what I mean? You go do these things.
All day event.
And all day event. So I knew my husband was not. And I knew from day one, my parents saying, Wanda, he's not right for you. But I assumed that I was in love. and I was
Yep.
very young-minded, very very naive. And once I heard that, I love you, and
Mhm.
got married very young. I'm like 21, and I thought that I can change him. And
Yeah.
now, knowing I couldn't, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And that's how things came out with with me. And God's just telling me each day, each year. I mean, and I can hear him clearly. And He's not for you. He's
Oh,
not for
wow.
you. And it just grew more and more and more. He's not for you.
So the accountability that you take in a
Mhm.
relationship is that you didn't recognize that he was not for you.
Right. Correct.
So your share of accountability is the fact that you did not recognize because you were naive.
Oh, I knew. I knew that.
So
I
so
knew.
so that's
But
the accountability. The fact that
yeah,
you were naive to
Mhm.
you were naive in a relationship, correct?
yeah, but I knew that he wasn't for me.
Okay,
If you
so
were not
that's
listening, I knew that I shouldn't have gotten married for one, because I
okay.
knew that he wasn't for me.
So
But
what's the
once
percentage of
he told
responsibility
me
that
that he loved me, and I needed somebody to be loved by,
Mhm.
and I know that that's why I say now that people just want to get married, and it's not going to work. I'm sorry, and I just wish more people.
brings me back to my
I
question?
just wish more people would love God more and understand and read the Bible. Because what we may be saying, and Larry, please, it's nothing against you. If people just read the Bible and know for themselves instead of people me just trying to convince somebody to read it and just know the word for themselves, that you will know what God say about unevenly yoked. And this is what I'm trying to say. Me and my husband, we were unevenly yoked, and God said that it will never work, and His
Wow.
word will not come back on void, and it's not going to work.
Now
Never is going to work.
here's two things, right? Now, first, okay, because let's get back to what we're talking about. So now you again, because you said you were naive in a relationship, you did not recognize at first, and then eventually you did recognize this was not the person for you, correct?
Oh no, no! Listen to me, Larry. Listen to me. Didn't say that. I knew this was not going to work, but He told me He loved me. He loved me,
You
and I'm sorry, sweetie. You don't know.
you missing what I'm saying. You're missing what I'm saying. You're missing what I'm saying. Yeah, you knew that it was not going to work, but basically his charisma kind of put you in a relationship. He convinced you that he loved you, and you went into this relationship.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
So now, what degree or measure of accountability do you have for that? Because now you just said you entered into a relationship knowing you were not supposed to go in there, knowing that you were not evenly yoked. So now, what percentage of that is on you, and what percentage of that is on him?
That I shouldn't have gotten married.
Okay, so let's put that in
That's
percentage.
what I'm saying.
Let's
That's
put
what I
that.
just said.
I understand that, but what? So let's put that in a percentage. So that would be what 50% you, 50% his behavior, because you knew you weren't supposed to be there, but you went there. So the point is accountability. What percentage of accountability of that is on you? Because going into a relationship knowing that you probably weren't supposed to be in there. For
Bro,
example,
bro,
I've entered into.
I'm not going to go back and forth with you with this.
No, I'm saying like for me,
Bro, I'm not going to do it.
I've entered into bad relationships. I've gone into bad relationships, and I know after a while, after that relationship, I'm like, I shouldn't have got into this. You know what I'm saying? And it's, I bear some responsibility for that because I knew I wasn't supposed to be in it. I knew I was a package delivered to the wrong address, and I needed to not be there. Right, and I get this.
Okay.
So I'm just saying.
Okay, can I say this to you? It's easier for you, but when maybe my sister can help me out here. It's easier for you to say what you're saying, but when you're talking about a child of God, and when you're saying, and what I'm trying to say, when God forgives me, He forgives me.
Yes.
But it's hard to keep on bringing up the. Sis, do you relate to? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's hard to keep on bringing up things to people, knowing that He forgave me already. So I'm keep on bringing up this stuff and keep on talking it over and over about it that He's already forgave me about. So I'm keep on talking to you, Larry, about the same thing over and over again, bringing it up that God forgave me about, and knowing that that's already been my testimony. So my testimony to other women is that, like I started off earlier, is that it's that you shouldn't bring old baggage into a relationship,
I agree.
and
I
which
agree with
you
that.
shouldn't. You shouldn't, no
I
matter
agree
what
with that.
he or she may start it. It don't matter what happened. I'm not going into someone relationship which I have no idea what it is. All I'm saying is that that shouldn't happen.
I
And
understand.
if we are talking about godly relationships, now I can talk about that too. Now, if you're in a relationship and if you're into the word, I can speak upon that. If you're not, it's going to be hard for you to understand because you're not into the word, and it's going to be hard for you to understand what I'm saying to you because you're not reading the word daily, you're not doing your devotion reading daily, you're not receiving the word for God daily. So it's going to be very, very hard to understand what I'm trying to say. So when I say to you that I knew Aaron, I'm sorry, I
See,
knew,
you take it
I
over there. Go ahead.
knew, I knew, when I say I knew he was unevenly yoked to me, and I knew I was in trouble, I knew it, but he said he loved me. And at that particular time, sis, I grew up in a home that didn't show me love. They
Right.
didn't show me love. I didn't, and my bro know this. I
Yeah.
didn't get no attention. My mom passed away when I was only 3, and she was only 23. My dad couldn't handle it, so I grew up in a household who didn't show me that. So I was no way ready for college. I left home just to get away from uh, a home that didn't show me no love. So when I went away from college, I met this person, and he showed me love.
Right.
And I thought, hey, he asked to be married. Oh yeah, I want to get married, but I wasn't ready for that.
Right.
So that's what happened.
That
Dr.
make no
Larry
mistake. Make no mistake, Tawanda. Nobody is attacking you. I'm not attacking you at all. I'm just bringing up different perspectives, right? And so no one is challenging your faith. No one is challenging your belief in the word and things like that. But you made and Shalita, you made a good point as well. Evenly yoked, right? Even someone that is not in the word, as y'all say, right? Evenly yoked could mean something as simple as, you and this person just have the same set of values. You and this person have the same mindset. You all sit down and have a discussion. You have the same perspective or worldview on how this family, this relationship should work, and you're all on the same sheet of music.
Right.
Right. And you don't necessarily, now of course, yes, having some type of, spiritual foundation, and spiritual does not necessarily mean involvement with the Bible or the Quran or any other thing like that. It's just a spiritual well-being. But religion, that has its place as well. But that, as far as there are Christians, people that know the word, that live the word and all that are in the church, and the relationships still break up.
Right.
So what percentage or accountability? My point is we all bear some degree of accountability. Now, the point that I was making was that, okay, when you're entering in, when you're a package and you're delivered to the wrong address, but you remain there, well then, yeah, some of that responsibility is yours. You don't bear zero responsibility. It may be, I knew 20%, I knew I shouldn't have been there, and I stepped into this. And this person did this 80%, and this person went extra and did all these other toxic things. But I'm responsible because I put myself in there, and as the saying goes, sometimes in bad relationships we pay more than we want to pay, and we end up staying longer than we really want to stay. You know what I'm saying? Because we're in these toxic relationships. So we gotta. That was my point. We all bear some type of responsibility when a relationship goes bad. That could be 1%. That could be 100%. It just all depends. But we have to take that hard look and take accountability. But go ahead. What would you like to contribute, Shalita? Correct?
Yes, I was gonna say that. I understand what you're asking her, and I understand the type of answer you want her to say, but I think she answered it in her own way. I can get where she's like, you know what, I answered this question already. I may not know a percentage. I may not know if it's 20, 50, or 75%.
Yeah.
I know that I shouldn't have been in it. I got in it because I didn't have love. And when somebody says, I love you, it melted her heart.
Yeah.
I understand. And so, yeah, she's not answering your percentage, but she is taking accountability in her way of saying that right there.
And the whole thing is even saying that okay, we talked about this before and this and that, and that's fine. We talked about it before, but this can help someone else that's listening that wasn't listening before, and they can get this, and this can help them to grow.
Yes.
And that's the whole. So it's not to for the person that was listening. I mean, for Tawanda, this isn't to exhaust the conversation, but someone may be listening that's in this type of toxic relationship where someone is doing this, someone is doing that. Like, you know what? Or they're reading the chat and they're like, you know what? I need to get out of this. I need to make some changes. And that's the whole purpose of this, so we can all grow together and move forward. You know what I'm saying? And we have all. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I know, and I don't know your experiences. But from my experience and people I know, we've all got a couple bad relationships underneath our belt, and we all know what we sometimes in our relationship going tit for tat. In our younger years, Dexter, they called in. He's 66 years old. He said he didn't actually really start to, exhibit appropriate behaviors. Let's just say that until like the past, the most recent 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So, but there's a lot of trial and error and a lot of bad relationships underneath our belts during that time. We know what we became, and we knew that we needed to change. From that person that we have become into something different.
Right.
And sometimes in a toxic relationship, we too become toxic because you doing this, so now I'm going to match your toxicity, and I'm going to go a little bit extra with my toxicity. And now you are just a combination of two toxic entities brought together, and now you've reproduced, which is more toxicity. But that was the kind of the basis for it. But and recognize some of these toxic behaviors. But what would you like to talk about? What was your? I noticed you put something there in the chat about toxic. Oh, I gotta hold on 1 second. I got somebody merge in here. Hold one. All right, you on the line with Dr. Larry and this is Shalita on there too. I'm in the booth by myself. Who we got on the line?
This is Arthur.
Arthur. All right. AW3. What's going on?
Hey, doing well.
All right. Well, we're talking about toxic relationships. We're talking about,
Well, I was listening to the young ladies there, and I think it's more of when we're talking 100%. I think it's 100%. When we start to use God, we have to be careful when we use God's name in this here, because how folks and what have you. So when God speaks to you at the same time, so that still comes back to you. So that's 100% back to you. It has nothing to do with that person when God has spoke to you. So, I understand that we say, but he says he loves, or we can go vice versa. We can say that the woman said that to the man. She said she loved me. Well, if God has already spoken to you, for one, that goes back to you. That accountability is yours and yours alone, not that man's, not no one else's. So, and I understand she probably did take that accountability. I understand that at this time, at this point. But I'm saying that's 100%. Still want to look for a percentage. When we're talking about God, when you bring God into it, then I say, yes, it is 100% your responsibility because he spoke to you and you alone. Okay? Now, at the same time, when we say love, we talk about this love. Well, what kind of love is it? We have to understand that love is, we have all types of love out there. And there's a lot of things to love about a woman. I love me some women myself. Now, don't get me wrong. So I love a woman, I should say. But at the same time, really.
That's a different show. Go ahead.
No, exactly. But no. Understood. Now, understand what I'm saying, though. But there's a carnal love. There's a carnal love that we're talking about. So that means it depends. That woman, you have to make sure you go back to your God and speak to him and talk with him and say, to make sure that this man is the right man for you, and try to listen. So if you have that relationship with your God, then you listen to him like that, because he will speak to you if you say you believe in him.
All right. Now, Shalita, what you got? What you got on that?
Oh, I agree 100%.
Because I'm glad I'm getting other male perspectives versus just me. I'm glad to hear other male perspectives as well and other female perspectives. Go ahead and continue. We do have to be. I do agree as well. Yeah, we do have to be very careful. And my co-host is usually here, Jean-Claude. He knows I always say, look, this is the intent of this is not to be a religious show. This is something for everybody. But yeah, we do need to be careful when we do put God into these things when we bring that up. But go ahead, Shalita. Didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, it's okay. I agree with Arthur says. When God does talk to you, you do have to take accountability. All I was saying about love, I understand as a woman, when a man tells you he loves you and you're in, the thing about women is we do get emotional, and if you're missing something, and it's kind of strange that I'll say you're missing something at the same time you're a believer in God and have God on your side, because God is pretty much everything, and he supplies everything you need. And what we end up doing is, because we want something so badly, we're going to justify that. You get many signs that say, don't do this, go this way. We bypass it if we really want something. And then we'll bring God into it and justify it again. But usually we justify it after it's turned sour.
Well, the thing we have to realize is, and it's human nature. Because as I've said before, we are all spirits having a human experience, right?
Yes.
And everything that's good to you is not necessarily good for you.
Yes.
Right? And sometimes we confuse, and there's a lot of things we confuse. We confuse good loving with being loved. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And we have to understand there's a big difference between these things. Got another call coming in here. Hold on a second. Man, line's blowing up. Hold on. Let's see. All right. I think I know who this is, but go ahead. Who we got?
This is Dexter.
This is Dexter.
And
Hold on, Dexter. Hold on, Dexter. All right, Shalita,
go ahead.
You there?
I am.
Arthur, you there?
Still here.
Man, we got a record. I done merged in 3 people together. Okay, go ahead, Dexter. What you gotta say? And then
All right, I want to.
Arthur and Shalita, I want y'all to chime in when Dexter finished. Go ahead.
Okay.
I want everybody to know that they have ruined my day because it's 8:40 in the morning here. Now I'm going to spend the remaining hours of the day thinking about all the wonderful conversation we had, and I'm going to reevaluate some of the things I think about. But here's what as you know, those that have heard me on several occasions, I always come up with a metaphor. Let's talk about accountability within the relationship. Now, for whatever reason, a lot of things I'm hearing is that the toxic relationship is one-sided.
No.
Now, let's assume, based on this metaphor I'm getting ready to give, from the male perspective, as you well know, as I stated earlier, I think a lot of us cannot stand being nagged. So I got a question. Ladies. If you go to the store and you purchase a carton of eggs and a 5-pound turkey, and you allow the bagger to put the eggs on the bottom of the 5-pound turkey, and when you get home, obviously we know what that creates. That creates cracked eggs. So when I talk about responsibility, okay, let's try to get away from the bulk of the responsibility in that toxic relationship that contributed to a bad marriage or a bad relationship, regardless. Let's focus on what portion. And I realize I can't remember the young lady's name. I knew it starts with a C. She's right. She's actually correct. The reason she understands Tawana was actually answering. Yes. She was actually answering your question, Dr. Larry.
Yes.
It's just that she said, "Wait a sec. I don't have to give you a percentage of this.
Yeah.
She's giving you what she went through. But what I want to know, using that metaphor that I just did, even if it was only 1%." The man complained about you coming home and he wanted eggs, and you allowed the bagger to put a 5-pound turkey on top of the eggs. Did you hear his complaint? Okay, so when you hear a person's complaint, that's where, I'm sorry, disregard. When you do not hear a person's complaint and take that complaint seriously, that's when it leads into toxic. And by the way, there's an old cliche: oil and water don't mix. So if it doesn't mix, don't try to put it together in that relationship. We need to stop focusing on we used to be in something and everything was based on that other person. Okay? We need to start focusing on, okay, what did I do? And I got it. If you don't want to talk percentages, and for those that weren't listening, I came up with another metaphor in terms of a pie. If two people have a pie, okay, does one person eat the whole pie, or does one person eat a great percentage of the pie? Okay, maybe some people didn't get that. That's possible. Or maybe some people don't want to admit that. But we have to admit, in every relationship, when it goes south, there is a certain degree of shared responsibility. That's the bottom line. And if we can't admit that, then conversation as such will be a moot point. And when something becomes a moot point, we start carrying that into other relationships. I said earlier, hold on, and I'm gonna get off the phone. I said earlier, when you move on, you have to make a mental checklist. And if you make that mental checklist one-sided, guess what? The same thing's going to happen because you did not admit where you went wrong. That's all I got.
So now,
but I'm listening.
All right, thanks a lot, Dexter. And Shalita, Arthur, chime in. What y'all got for that?
Well, I mean, I can start a little bit here, if you would. So, you know, I like the pie analogy and stuff. I like that at the same time, but I look at it like this here. You know, a lot of relationships, how we mess them up. We mess relationships up because, you know, we don't have a foundation too at the same time. And I'm not going to get back into God or anything like that, because but that's something totally different. But like I said, but it's more that we don't have a foundation. So you have to set a foundation from the beginning. And like I said, I like the pie analogy too at the same time. But the way I spin this pie analogy, the way I would do it is saying, okay, listen, my significant other, or what have you, a wife, or what have you, that's what they would be. Knows that I like sweet potato pie. Okay? So that part of that pie, I'm going to eat that whole pie. You understand? That's because she made that sweet potato pie for me. Now, I also know that she eats apple pie. So now I'm going to make sure I bring an apple pie to give that to her at the same time, because I know she loves apple pie. So that's 100% of her pie. I can't bring you. We can't make these relationships like let's say, oh, it's 50-50. No, it's 100-100. I have to bring 100% of me just as well as they have to bring 100% of them to this.
Hold on.
Agree.
I'm getting feedback somewhere. Agree. Hold on. I'm getting feedback somewhere.
Agree.
I'm getting feedback.
Are you?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Arthur. Continue.
Yeah, I think everybody has to mute their devices so we don't get feedback when someone's talking.
Yeah.
I'll mute mine.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so like I said, that's what I mean by the pies and all that stuff there. You can still hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. So yeah, so I agree. But see, one thing I think about when it comes to men and women, in relationships too at the same time, I don't know if we really think about it as much, but I think that women, I know women need love. That's what I heard the women always talk about love. They need love, right? And that's what we should give them. That's our thing as men. We should provide that loving environment for that woman. Okay? Now, what at the same time, like I said, this goes a little deeper, but we're not getting into that right now. But what's the other side that woman? Is the woman supposed to love that man? That's the question. What do you think?
Is the woman supposed to love that man?
Yeah.
Love's a mutual thing. Each person has needs that need to be met. But you know something? You go ahead, Shalita. You go ahead and give me your Dexter. I think that's coming from you.
What's coming from me?
I think this feedback up here is coming from you. Mute your mic.
Yeah, you gotta mute it.
Not mute it. I muted everything.
I can still hear you. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that
Shalita.
Oh, you want him to finish first?
Okay, go ahead. Okay, go ahead, Arthur. I thought you did.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, okay. So at the same time, this will be something too. At the same time, and see what you guys think about this. Men are supposed to love their wives or their mate, right? They're supposed to love them, right? That's what they're supposed to give that woman love, and they love that. That's what they're supposed to do. Now, the vice versa, like I said, what a woman should be giving the man, is it love? No, I don't think it's. Well, I know it's not love. What you should be giving that man is respect, and we interpret that as love. Once you respect me, then I interpret that as love, that you love me. So we give you love, you give us respect, and that's how we look at it. Because
I'm gonna tell you something, Arthur. I'm gonna tell you something right now, okay? And I will hopefully nobody types in a curse word or call in and cuss me out. You have some men like me. You're absolutely correct. Want respect, because see, I'm old school, okay? I'm a male chauvinist, but I'm a male chauvinist that respects the woman I'm with. Now, that being said, I think we get a lot of this stuff twisted. Once again, we get a lot of stuff twisted when it comes to accountability. I got it. Some people don't want to talk about the percentage. I got it. I got what you said. You like sweet potato pie, so it's 100% you, and vice versa. But at the end of the day, when we do not evaluate who we are and say to ourselves, hey, why did this go wrong? Was it all her fault? Why did this go wrong? Was it all his fault? Whether we want to call that a percentage or not, you need to evaluate that. Go ahead. Shalita, I want to hear from you. What do you think?
First of all,
what do you think?
Okay, wait. Let's hear what Shalita got to say. Let's hear what Shalita got to say, and then Arthur, I'm going to address what you said. I'm going to address what you said. Shalita, go ahead. Let's hear what you have to say on this.
Okay, I agree with Arthur. In a relationship, you bring 100% to it, regardless. Not 50, not 60, 100% to it. I agree with Dexter as well. One thing you always have to do is evaluate your part in the demise of a relationship, or just even when you're in a relationship, you're going to have issues. You're going to have trials and tribulations. You're going to argue, and you got to say, you got to pull yourself back out of it and say, like he said, am I wrong? Is this person wrong? How could I have handled it better? What can I do the next time to make it better? You can never be that person. Never should be that person. Always point your finger at the other person. Never see your own fault. If you never see your own fault, it's already dead.
That within itself,
Bingo.
That within itself is toxic.
Bingo.
You know.
Bingo. Exactly.
Now, will you finish, Shalita?
I'm done.
Okay. So now, Arthur, I agree partly with what you're saying, right? Not entirely, because and I understand the analogy. You know, the woman does something for you that shows her love. Well, she does. You go and get her a pie to show her love, right? But in return, you want respect. Correct? Are you there?
Yeah, that's correct. That's how we interpret.
Yeah. Now, and for a lot of men, I'm hearing this. Mute yourself. You all, can I get y'all to mute your stuff, because I'm hearing stuff, feedback or something. Anyway,
my stuff is muted. I don't know what's going on.
But as we
mine's muted also.
Okay, as we get into, it goes further than just, more than respect, because we all know and we all heard about like those 5 love languages, and so part of that, we just got to identify what the other person's love language is to meet their needs, because the person may bring you a pie because they know that you like pies, but you bring this person a pie back. Well, that may not be what their language is. Their language may be spending some time. Their language may be, now for men, a lot of us, we want more so, but women, we want it, but our women really need it more because of the different things that they may have encountered, and the ones I've come across. Words of affirmation.
Dr. Thomas.
No, I'm not finished.
Stop right there. Stop right there.
I am not finished.
Here's what Arthur's saying.
Hold on, Dexter. Dexter, hold on.
Go ahead.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Hold on. Now, I understand what you're saying, Arthur, as far as, you want to reciprocate, that this person done something for you to show that you are concerned and you love them and you appreciate what they did. And we in return want dignity and respect from that person as well. And is that kind of what you're saying?
Okay, so what? I mean, it is, but yes and no. But it's not like that. It's not a tit for tat, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So the way you're saying it seems like it's like, okay, if you do this, it's this, it's that. No, it's not. It's not. I said how men interpret love is how I said it. Not that
exactly.
Yes.
To the woman, of course we give them love, and that's what we do. And a good man will give that woman, give her anything. I mean, it goes, like I said, it goes back to the beginning of time. So everybody has power. I always say that, you know, and we have to know how to use that power.
Yes.
You know, and that means, you know, that like I said, yes, I see what Sonya was saying in there, that it was love. It goes hand in hand. It does. But I'm just saying, you know, because that is true. Love and respect, that goes hand in hand. That's the truth. I understand that. I just said the way men interpret love, that when if you respect that man that way, but like I said, don't respect him if he's not loving you properly. That makes no sense.
Exactly, and that was really I want to make sure that the listeners fully understood what you were saying with that, so it wasn't misinterpreted. Go ahead, Dexter.
And here's where I think Arthur and I are on the same page. Quite often, your mate, from the female standpoint, will say, "I love you," and we get a lump in our throat and say, "I love you too." Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
People such as myself, I could care less if a woman ever tells me she loves me. Okay? I just want that respect, because based on that respect, I know she loves me. To where the flip side of that, and by the way, we can't put all our eggs in one basket and say every man's the same and every woman's the same.
True.
That's simply not fair. But from the standpoint of where life has been for many of us, my point is to Arthur's point. Hey, you love me? I love you too, baby.
Yep.
Okay? But I just want that respect.
Okay.
So now we go back to yet again, and I know I sound like I'm beating a dead horse here. At the end of the day, although all things are not equal, agreed. Like Arthur said, it's not tick for tack, okay? But at the end of the day, just because you wash the dishes on Monday does not mean I got to wash the dishes on Tuesday. So at what point, where things started going south, were you not listening to your mate that there was a complaint? Although it is no excuse for your mate, whether it's a man or a female, to go out there and destroy the relationship based on the one thing they may not have liked.
All right, Shalita, what you got?
I would say that I'm the type of woman that I actually don't need to hear you tell me I love you, I love you. I need it to be shown, because just like Arthur was saying, there's a lot to love about me. There's a lot to hate too, but there's a lot to love about me.
Right.
I've said this too many times. I need you to back that up with some action. When you're showing
Agreed.
Words, right?
Huh?
Agreed.
Actions speak louder than words, correct?
Yes. That's the type of woman I am. A lot of times with women, we fall in this trap because they just want to hear it. And once we hear it, we're good to go. And we let so many things pass us by, get past us. And then when the relationship dies or is going down, then we want to say, oh, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. No, it was always right there in front of your face, but you bypassed it because you heard the words that you always wanted to hear. I love you. But what about when he was doing this, and this, and you let it slide? What about like Esther was saying?
Hold on 1 second. Vincent, I saw what you put in here. I want you to go ahead and call in. I'll put the number here in the chat. Go ahead and continue.
So it's like Dexter said, that a man sometimes has a complaint, or it could be a woman. We have to hear that, and we have to talk about it. We can't just have somebody say something and you bypass it. You have to take it in, especially if you love that person or want to be with that person. You have to say, okay, he has this complaint. What can I do to make this better? What can I contribute to help him feel a particular way? As long as it's not something that's going to, it's not out of the way, breaking you down, or, you coming at your character, there's no reason why you shouldn't listen to this complaint and try to make it better and come to an agreement and see what you can do.
Yeah, and
exactly.
And it's very important that those words and those actions need to align with each other, because a lot of times
I agree.
Let's keep it 100 here. You know, a lot of guys, they know that that's what y'all want to hear.
Right.
So we tell y'all what y'all want to hear, so that we can get whatever the goal is that we want to achieve with you.
Right.
You know,
And they also have to recognize when they tell you what you want to hear, are they telling you with a lump in their throat? Oh yeah, baby, I love you too.
I got a call. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can merge this call in here. Hold on. All right. You on the line with Dr. Larry. I'm in the booth by myself. On the line, I got Arthur. I have Shalita, and also got Dexter from the Philippines. Who's on the line right now?
This is Vincent.
Vincent. All right. I saw you a little active in the chat. What's up, Vincent?
What's going on, LB? How you doing?
Ow. What's up, brother?
Ole, yeah.
What's going on? You see what we talking about. What you got?
I guess listening to everybody's point of view, everybody has some good points. One of the things that I did want to comment on first is I'm glad that the conversation is leading away from religion, because being evenly yoked has many, it comes in many aspects, and religion is just one of them. So with that being said, I'm moving away from that. The comment that I made, saying that I love it when my woman tells me she loves me. I need to, myself, I need to hear it. But also it goes hand in hand with that action too. With what Sister Shalita said. Action and words. I tell my brother all the time, he will say one thing, but his actions will say another. And I tell him he needs to stop doing that, because his actions and words need to go hand in hand. And that's how I feel about when we use that word love.
Yeah.
I need to hear it, but I also need to see the action too. Actions and words go hand in hand. You can do it, but sometimes you just need to hear somebody mouth those words to go along with those actions, because there's nothing like hearing your woman that you, going back to the evenly yoke, nothing like hearing your woman saying that's evenly yoked, looking into your eyes after doing something magnificent for you, is saying, I love you. It's one of the greatest, it's one of the closest things to God we can ever get to. Is when you share those words and actions together.
Right on. You're right. So other callers, what y'all think about that? Jump in there.
Yeah, so I think that's great. That's what I think. I like that.
This noise or whatever. I can get y'all to mute your stuff. Mute your stuff while somebody else is talking. Go ahead, Arthur. That was you, right? Go ahead.
Okay. So like I said, I agree. I agree with Shalita, and I agree with Vincent what they're saying. But love is, like I said, definitely love is an action word. And that's where I was going to next. That was the next thing. So it's all action in love. You know what I mean? So we can always say it, and a lot of us do, and a lot of men say it. So that's why I have to make sure, women, you got to make sure you're connected. Let's say grounded. Wherever you're grounded, you got to make sure you're grounded so you understand that when someone says love, you know what it means. You know what it truly means yourself. So and sometimes that involves you loving yourself, and that's huge. That's something by itself also. That's something totally different. So if I don't love myself a certain way, that don't mean I have to go buy myself every kind of thing, this and that and other. It's just how you hold yourself, how you want to be respected, truly, and loved that way. So everybody, like I said, hand in hand, like Shania was saying, that it's love and respect. So you have to know how you want to be respected at the same time, and that love will come to you. That love will come to you no matter what. And that man, if he truly understands what respecting, what that means when that woman respects him, that love, he just automatically understands that. And yeah, that doesn't mean like Vincent was saying, we don't want to hear "I love you." Everybody's going to want to hear that sometimes here and there. From there. But like I said, but for the root of the whole thing, that we're saying, if that woman respects you, that's why she's telling you she loves you. In this meeting. Like I said, when it goes back to what what's the young man there that was just talking about the pie, at the
Dexter.
same time that we're Dexter, I'm sorry. Yeah, that we have the
Can you try to mute your stuff? Somebody's not muted. Or something, because I'm hearing a lot of noise.
I don't know what that. I hear it on my side too. I don't know.
I'm hearing a lot of background noise. Go ahead. Continue. Right?
But yeah, so like I said, it's the same thing when it comes to the pies and everything. And I gave that analogy about the pies. How hey, I like this type of pie, and she likes this. That type of pie. Like I said, and it doesn't mean that, like you said, like even Dexter said, well, just because you I wash dishes today, tomorrow I need to get you, I need to wash dishes. That doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that either. So that's the same thing. It doesn't mean that, okay, I like a sweet potato. She baked me a sweet potato pie tomorrow. I'm going to go bake her apple pie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're not going to want my baking of apple pie. But you know what I mean?
If somebody gives you an apple, if somebody gives you a pie, a sweet potato pie, they give it to you. They give you that pie and say, I love you.
Right.
And they sit down. That's a whole different thing than somebody giving you that sweet potato pie and throwing it in your face.
But guys, here's the thing. Here's the thing. We're talking right now. That the last couple of minutes has been talking about the utopian part.
I got a call come in.
Relationship.
Hello. Okay. I'm in the booth by myself. You got Dr. Larry. Let me see, run down the line. I got Dexter. I got Vince. I got Shalita. And I got Arthur on the line. Who's just calling in now?
Hi, good afternoon, Dr. Larry.
Hello. Who am I speaking to?
Muse.
Who?
Hello, everyone.
Who am I speaking to? Rose.
Yes, hi, Dr. Larry. How are you?
Oh, how you doing, Rose? Good to hear
I'm
from you.
okay. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Okay. I heard everybody's opinion, and hello.
Yes, I can hear you fine. Everybody else, you all on the line, you all can hear, correct?
Okay.
Correct.
I agree with everybody's opinion when it comes to love and respect. And a lot of time I heard people saying action speaks louder than words, which I agree. But my question is that where is trust falls into love and respect?
Where does trust fall into love and respect?
Yes, where is trust falls into love and respect. Let's say, okay, we talk about love and respect, but what about trust?
In my opinion, and you all can chime in by all means, because I am not the panacea to this whole thing. I'm not the ultimate solution or answer giver. But what I would say is trust is a big part of respect. Because if a person is not honest with you, or you can't respect someone that you don't trust. I mean, really. You can't. We look, regardless of the type of relationship we're in. Whether it's a professional relationship at work, whether it's a relationship with family, with friends, with relatives, or definitely romantic relationships. If you can't respect a person that you don't fully trust. You can't. You can't. But what are you? Okay, say what you want to say next, and I want to hear the other folks speak. Go ahead.
All right. So now we're going right back to the topic of toxic.
Yes.
Based on what Rose just said, okay? It becomes toxic when there's no trust. So when there's no trust, what is the reason for that no trust? Okay? For that lack of trust. Do you keep it to yourself, or does that become the complaint I'm talking about? So you bring it up. So it does intermingle with a toxic relationship. When does the toxic relationship
in the discussion?
When does it start? That's the key. When does it actually start? And when it starts, do you let it linger on until it becomes so toxic that guess what? You're no longer together.
Yep. So and Shalita, Arthur, what do y'all think about that? I think that like and Vince, I think that as I mentioned earlier, dishonesty. If a person's dishonest with you, then then you can't trust them. You can't respect a person that's not honest with you. But go ahead. I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, Rose.
Well, in a lot of cases, it's a hard pill to swallow when it comes to trust. And even though, at times you're bringing it up to the other partner, then, there's so much, damage that already done. And you get to a point, there's nothing you can do about it, to let go.
And that is the toughest pill to swallow when a relationship has run its course and it's done. But then we go back and we have to look as well as we always do when the relationship's over, and we look at this. We look back and we reflect. What part of that did we have in that? What bear responsibility do we have for the relationship going bad? Not saying that it's your fault or you have responsibility for the person lying to you. I'm not saying that. But did you notice the signs that the person was lying to you and you decided to stay in that relationship? So then that because if that's the case, then you do bear some level of responsibility for that. We all bear some level of responsibility. But if you recognize a person lying to you and you overlooked it and you overlooked some of these toxic behaviors, well, then we have to bear some responsibility. But if this is something where you call the person on it and you're in a relationship when it happens, maybe you give them they have 3 strikes or whatever, and you can't trust the person. How can you fully trust a person that's not being honest with you? But Arthur, I cut you off. Go ahead, Arthur.
So I agree. I definitely agree with all that. But I also look at it like, okay, so we're talking about love now. We're not talking about something that we're just a word that's just. And I know good and well it's been thrown around a lot by men and women together there. But the thing is, we're talking about love here. So we love and respect, like even in trusting. Like I said, I saw Sonia had mentioned trusting up there too at the same time. That it's all together in love. It's one thing. I understand that, and I know we try to interpret it by saying certain things. By folks are he said. Yeah, it's a lot to it. But at the same time, love is the ultimate. That is everything. Like same thing, like Dexter was saying. That's the key. The love is key, though. So we're trying to separate these little pieces out of it. This and that and other. Like I said, don't get it twisted. What I said. Like I said, men want to be looked at how we interpret it. That's the difference. But at the same time, love is the key. It all goes back down to love. Back to love. How we love each other. That means if I love you, I'm going to trust you this way. But but like I said, I hate to get back into it, but I have to always go back to my foundation. Let's call it that, since we're not talking about all that right now. But we got to go back to the foundation to check yourself on love and how you're loving. You have to always go back to yourself, and that trust and that respect. All that comes. It's incorporated. It's just that's what we hold on to. That's what we should be focusing on, and don't separate it, because the man or a woman that says I love you but yet doing all these other things, like I said, there's many things to love about a woman. You know what I'm saying? There's many things to love about a man too, because I think I'm the best looking man in the world. But that's just me. But I'm not. hey, but that's it. I'm just being funny, y'all.
Yeah,
I'm just being funny. But I'm talking to the ladies out there. Be like, oh, he thinks no. Trust me, it's truly. You have to think something. You have to feel something for yourself. That's why I said you got to go back and know who you are. First off. So now, if I know this is the type of person I am, now I'm not saying I'm trying to look for the the 100% woman. You can't look for 100% man. You have to find the one that's 100 for you.
Exactly.
That's it.
The one now.
You know?
Now hold on. So now, Rose, are you there? Rose, are you still there? I guess Rose dropped. I had a question for Rose, but if you hear me, call back in. I got a question for you. But go ahead, Shalita. Anything you want to add?
I agree with Arthur. I think that trust goes with love, and it goes with respect. So if you don't have the trust, you don't really have that love. And a lot of times with women, what we do is
Hold one second, Shalita. Hold 1 second. Okay, is this Rose?
I had to hang up.
Okay, hold on 1 second, Rose. Shalita, go ahead and finish. I got a question for you, Rose. Go ahead, Shalita.
A lot of times what we do is we see that trust, that person may be a jealous man or this and that, but like I said, we try to justify it. We try to hold on to that relationship. We let things get so far out of whack before we actually take action in a relationship to actually leave. And that right there is toxic on our part. When we don't act.
Exactly.
Shalita,
This is Dexter. I'm glad you said that, because that's what I was going to say. Because the topic was based on toxic relationships, right? And
right.
The reason I always talk about that percentage, exactly what you just said. In other words, the toxic relationship actually can go both ways, especially if you're a woman and you know you have distrust, okay? And you put up with it. So you're part of the poison as well.
Now hold on.
So I'm glad you said that. Shalita.
Yeah, you made a very good point there, Shalita. Before we get further down, Rose.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm here.
My question for you is this, because we're talking about toxic relationships and we're talking about distrust. So now, what prompted, or give me an example, what prompted this question for you? Is it a result of a toxic relationship? And if so, if you want to share, by all means, do that.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Okay, what I wanted to know, you asked a question about dishonesty. Right?
Yes, that's correct.
I want to know what prompted that question, or what toxic relationship or example would you like to give that you want to share, if you want to share with us the reason for the question.
That's a lie. If I have to share, I would have like the whole night to talk about toxic.
Okay, we don't have the whole night.
Personally, I'm in a toxic relationship, you know, and it's not that easy. There's a lot involved when it comes to, disrespect and also, trust. Like you said, if there's no respect, then if there's no trust, there won't be no respect. It goes together. And that's the reason why I call when I say that, it's love and respect. No, it's not just love and respect. It's love and trust. Then if you trust the person, then you respect it. Not respect. It's love and trust. You gotta trust the person.
Well,
right?
Again, trust is a dimension of respect, because you can't respect a person that you don't trust, because a person, your word, at the very lowest thing, a person has their word. Correct me if I'm wrong, Shalita, Dexter, Vince, Arthur. But at the very least, a person has their word. And if a person is not true to their word, then you can't respect the person. And if you can't respect the person, and as Arthur was saying, these things go hand in hand. Love is like the umbrella, but all of these things fall under that umbrella, right? Under that umbrella, love is trust, it's respect, it's dignity. It's all of these things combined together that equate to love. So if you can't trust the person, if the person's dishonest, they can't hold to their word, then you can't really love a person you don't trust, because this person is not respecting you. And and you could be, again, the analogy that I use is you're a package that's delivered to the wrong address. So now you have to leave. You know, you have to remove yourself from the situation. Now, again, it's easier said than done, and I'm hardly one to tell somebody you need to leave your relationship and stuff like that. You have to fully reflect on that yourself. Do the cost versus the benefit. Is it worth it to stay here? But again,
look here.
You all correct me if I'm wrong.
Hey, look here.
When you're in the wrong, when you're in a bad relationship, sometimes these decisions you'll pay more than you want to pay and stay much longer than you want to stay. You know what I'm saying?
Look here.
Because because of these decisions. Dexter, go ahead.
Look here. A ham and cheese sandwich is only a ham and cheese sandwich.
You got food in your mind.
When there's ham and cheese between the bread. So, if you want a ham and cheese sandwich in your relationship, and someone just gives you the ham without the cheese, that means you need to bring that up before it becomes a problem. Hey, honey, I wanted ham and cheese. Oh, honey, I didn't realize that. I'll make it. So using that analogy, when something starts going south in a relationship, don't let it ride. Jump on it right away.
Call it out.
And then that way you can truly see. Now we go back to trust, dishonesty. By not letting it ride and linger, and you try to talk about it. Now you can see if the love is really there. But if you just blow it, talk about it respectfully. Okay. Now you try to talk about it respectfully, and that person don't want to hear it. Now you can honestly say you did your portion. You brought it up. So the majority of the poison in relationship is on that person that just don't want to hear what you got to say.
All right.
Rose.
Arthur Shalita. I got too many people on it. Wait, Vince, you still on there? What you got to say, Vince? Hold on.
I'm still here.
Hold on. Hello. This Rose, right?
Yes, we can. You want me to go first?
Is this
You hear me?
Rose?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, stand by. Vince, I want, because you've been quiet for a minute. Let me hear what you got to say about that, Vince.
All right. Since the topic moved towards love,
were we still talking about toxic relationships and
it's still toxic relationship, but love is like trading stocks and bonds, high risk, high reward.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a high risk, high reward business. I'm just using business as a business, even though we know love is not business. It's high risk, high reward. If you hit it, it's the best thing. And when you don't hit it, that's where we go into the toxic part. Now, at the beginning of the two people getting into this, at the beginning of the relationship, there are red flags that appear. A lot of the times, those red flags appear that this might be a problem. And like Dexter said, we need to call those things out when it happens.
Yes.
But a lot of the times, men and women, sometimes we let that ride, just to see if that gets something, just maybe it's just something. Exactly, just something has happened. Maybe no, let's let this ride a little bit. But But if it happens again, that's when it the conversation needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times when we get into these relationships, there are those cues that can show you that this is not the relationship for me. This is not the person for me. Because now we're getting back into that evenly yoked thing because, okay, that's a red flag for me. This might be a problem. Because, okay, she sees things this way, I see things this way. And it's great for you to see things different ways, but the problem is when you try and force your views onto the other person,
yeah.
Instead of
those worldviews don't completely align.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Instead of coming to a compromise and okay, those are your views, these are my views. Can we coexist with our different views? Some people can, some people can't. The people who can't still try and make it work. Why? Because that love thing comes into play, and then when love comes in, it blinds you to all the red flags that should tell you to leave and run.
You know what? I just thought of something. I just thought of something. But I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait.
Yeah.
Arthur, go ahead.
Yeah. So I agree. You guys, I agree with everything that's being said here too at the same time. But you remember, if we're talking about now, like I said, back on toxicity at the same time. When you're talking about toxic, you don't want to drink some poison. No one wants to drink some poison. Here, drink this poison. So we got to be careful about what we're saying. We got to be careful about how we say these things because in relationships, and when I say be careful, sometimes you may say, well, maybe you should leave, maybe you shouldn't leave. You have to make sure it's the right timing. You have to know who you're with, because you can get into something and not knowing, because people, and we all lie about certain things, and you have to be careful. Somebody can show you the world, and ooh, look at that, and then when you get in here, you be like, wait a minute. This is like a thimble. This is not a world. This is a thimble. Just a little thing. You know what I mean? So you have to be careful. So even though when you evaluate, yes, you need to talk to your mates and everything and let them know. At times, if you can. What I'm saying, make sure because you have to strategically move your way out the best way you can. We don't know how it comes with toxicity. Like I said, we're talking about family members and everything else, and that's involved, kids and all this stuff. So you have to start thinking now. So when you're in a toxic relationship, you don't want to stay in that. You want to continue to drink poison? No, you don't. But you have to strategically think about and plan, like Shalita was saying, plan on how we move out of this. So whatever you have to do it. Because you have to just ease your way, however you do it. Because sometimes you just can't open your mouth to certain men or women. Well, I think such and such and such and such. Well, guess what? Sometimes it comes with a big, whole lot of something. So we have to be careful.
You know what throws a monkey wrench in planning?
Exactly.
Love throws a monkey wrench in planning.
Now,
love is love.
No, it doesn't.
Love is the love
it doesn't.
No. Listen.
One at a time. Wait a minute.
No.
Let's hear him out.
Love is the monkey wrench why people stay in toxic relationships.
That's not true.
Okay.
That's not
Wait.
In some cases, it's, and in a lot of cases, it is true, because a person will say, "Oh, I can't find nobody else. I can't live without her," because they are truly in love with this person, because they have fallen in love with this person, but because they ignored all the red flags that makes this person toxic for them.
So
what you said was they can't live without. Oh.
So here's the question. So are you saying that the toxic behavior is a belief that people hold on to, that love can conquer all?
And most
you want to know something? You want to know something?
Let me hear from Shalita, because you've been pretty quiet there.
Hold on a minute. Hold on a second. Here's another texturism. You can put gas in a bottle, and the bottle will not explode. But if you put gas in a bottle with a rag, and you light that rag, what do you have?
Yeah, you got
You have a cocktail that
yeah,
will
cocktail,
explode.
yeah.
So if you take that same analogy and you have in your relationship gas, and you don't put that you keep that gas in that bottle, something's going to eventually happen until you put that gas in a proper container. So we can talk all this stuff we want to talk. At the end of the day, you must address what's going on in your relationship the moment it comes about, the very moment you have a feeling that something's not right.
All right, Shalita.
Right. I agree with that. I was gonna say earlier when Dexter was saying that you have to bring something to the table, and you do. Once you bring a situation to the table and you address it with your partner, and your partner ignores it, then it's in your ball court to say, "Will I accept this, or will I walk away?" A lot of times we accept it and we keep going on. We're
Very
not
true.
willing to walk away, and
It,
then we keep getting. And that toxic thing right there, it's small, but guess what? It starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger because we didn't handle that one right there.
yeah.
That
And
person feels like I can do something else and something else because you let me cross that line, I'm gonna cross another one and
And
another one, and
what's the reason why we're not willing to walk away?
But no, wait, hold on.
it's
No, no, no. What's the reason? It's
Go,
it's
go ahead.
it's a one word. It's a one
I
word.
don't
It's
know
a
if
one
that's
word.
love. I don't
It's a
know
one
if that's,
word.
is that really love? Is love really blind?
No, it is
Was
not.
Yes,
I don't
it
think
is.
so. We've
hold
been
on,
saying
hold
this
on,
for
folks.
so.
One at a time. One at a time. One at a time. One at a time.
I think we've been saying love is blind, and we believe that love is this and love, like Will Smith was saying, love makes you do crazy things.
Stop, stop,
No,
stop.
that wasn't
We're
love.
not bringing that in
That
there.
wasn't
We not
love.
look, look,
I'm
look.
just saying,
We're not talking about Will
love.
Smith. We're not bringing that into here.
But I'm just saying, it's not making love is not making you do those crazy things. That's something else within you. It could be your ego. It
That's
could be the
crazy.
fact that you want to hold on to someone, not just because of love, because you feel lonely. You may feel like I can't get anybody else, or I made this mistake and I don't want to admit this mistake. Those aren't love. Those are issues within yourself that we call
Well,
love.
and sometimes people, sometimes people stay there because they just don't want to start over. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
but
Now,
that's not love. That's just
Rose.
because you don't want to start over. We calling it love, but it's something else, and we're just love is blind. Love is this. Look, no, those are like the negative parts
That's
of what we call
we're
love. It's
putting a
not love.
band-aid on a gaping wound. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now, Rose, I know you've been listening to this. So now, tell me what your, tell me what your you have to contribute to this. Is she still there? Rose? Rose, are you still there? All right, I guess Rose is not still here. What? Well, and I agree. I agree with you, and I agree with all of you in what you all had to say. What I will say again, part of the reason that people stay is they don't want to start over because I put X number of years into a relationship and I don't want to start over, right? Again, these are things that we convince ourselves of. We stay in this relationship because we believe that we no longer hold the same market value that we thought we once held. That makes sense to you all? They feel people feel they no longer marketable, so they stay. Okay,
Well,
I think we got her coming back in. Hold on. Hello, who's this on the line? Is this Rose again? Hello, who just called in? You on the line with Dr. Larry?
It's me again, Dr.
Okay.
Larry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, I want to know what, and then I think that was Arthur. Hold on a second, Arthur. Rose, I want to know what is your take on this?
Well, my take on this is because, afraid to start over. And also when you have like kids involved and you're always like hopeful that thing will, change for the better. and that's when situation lingers and lingers, and all these things keep happening. And that's my belief. And also, it's sad in a way, like in a toxic, when it gets so toxic, like it's like that person or have nothing to be blamed for. It's always one person. You did this, you did this, you did this. But what about you? What's causing it? You see what I'm saying?
That brings us back full circle to what we talked about at the beginning.
That's right.
What responsibility do we have in this when we point the fingers, right? As it's been said before, when you point one finger, you got three fingers pointing back at you. So what level of responsibility do you take? And it may not necessarily be a percentage. As long as you take some degree of accountability. You know what I'm saying? We have to do that reflection and take some degree of accountability as to the overall outcome of the whole thing. But I will tell you this, you gotta, I mean, that is definitely, and you all that are on the line, definitely jump in, correct me if I'm wrong, or contribute to this. But there are a lot of factors. If it comes to removing yourself from the situation, yeah, it's a lot of factors. If kids are involved in it, yeah, to some people, and some people, that's a factor. I've spoken to some people that a few couples that their relationship is not the best between the two of them, but they have kids, so they've gone into basically they're in the raising children business, not necessarily in the we're in a relationship business. We're in the raising children business, and unlike how Vince stated, love is not a business, unless of course you're in Hollywood. But for the rest of us in the real world, love is not a business, right? But sometimes it can be a strategic alliance where y'all are just working together amicably to raise the kids. So there's a stable household, and you are not, together in that sense. The relationship is not a high value or high quality relationship. What do you all think about that? Any of y'all, Vince, Dexter?
I got something. I got something.
Go ahead, Dexter. What you got?
As you know, I always use some type of metaphor. Every household has cabinets, and the cabinets does not always have food, which is positive. Food is positive, but you have some cabinets that have cleaning supplies, and some of those cleaning supplies can be harmful if they're mixed with something that they shouldn't be mixed with. So what I'm trying to say is, you got to clean your cabinet, your relationship sometimes. You have to just sit down, maybe things are going well that particular day. But guess what? The fact that things are going well that particular day is just like cleaning your cabinets on a day that you had no intent on cleaning your cabinets. And that's when you can bring up certain issues that may be of importance that can lead to the relationship being more toxic than it already is.
Okay.
So I agree with Dexter on this. At the same time, it's like those analogies I kind of get in somewhat, but I say it's like we're both men and women. We're all toxic to a certain degree. You understand? So we have to understand we're all so we're all toxic to a certain degree. So like I said, now exactly, that's the whole point of managing. Now like you said, you're talking about cleaning your cabinets and what's that. Okay, we may use pine sol or Windex. Okay, but you're not going to drink some pine sol and Windex because it's still poisonous, right? But now check this out. You may have somebody that you're with that's acid that's up in that cabinet also. Now you know darn well you ain't gonna drink no acid, but yet that's who they are. So that once again, that's the difference when you talk about toxic relationships. When we go back to this here now, because we all have some toxicity in us. We have acid in us all. We all do.
Well,
that's
it's been said the difference between something that can, the difference between medicine and poison is sometimes the dosage.
right. But no. Exactly. And I'm with you, and that's what I'm saying. But I'm just saying that we're not. No one on this call or anywhere in this world going to sit here and tell us that. Okay, well, I don't have a little fine me. Well, of course I got a little fine me. You got a little fine you too.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
so everybody has. You know, so that there is a certain amount. So that's when it goes back down to Dexter's comment about a certain percentage. You know, well, guess what? You know, I'm not acid, or I may be acid to some people, but you know, I'm just saying. But if you're acid, well, you know, acid's up there. That's a high percentage, and you just may be Windex. You know, Windex. You just cleaning stuff. You ain't really. I'm poisonous, but I ain't like that. You know, I'm not a king cobra. You know what I mean?
All right.
Yeah. You know. So there. That's all.
Shalita, Rose, what do you think about that? All right, Shalita, Vince, what y'all got on that? Shalita?
Oh, I agree. I agree with you on the toxic level. Everybody has their own percentage of how bad they are in a relationship. You know, I think that
we all have faults, that's for sure.
We all have faults, but at the same time, I think one of our biggest faults is not being able to leave and get out of something when we know that other person is toxic like crazy. If you're sitting there and you're arsenic up there, and you know it, once you know that person has a high toxic level and you choose to stay, a lot of that percentage comes back to you because you're in the know. It goes back to what Arthur was saying earlier. If you have a connection with God and he has talked to you, you got people telling you this, you got all the signs there. And you just saying, well, I ain't worried about those signs. I just want this right here. And then when everything goes bad, you're like, I ain't got no fault in it. No, you got fault in it. You got a lot of fault. You got most of the fault. So once we're in the know,
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so once we're in the know of something, the responsibility falls on us.
Do you think
once
the
you
ego
know
plays in that?
Oh yeah, and it goes. It's many things that go in there.
I'm here. This is a bad situation, but I'm not going to leave this situation because I refuse to look like a failure to this person, that person, family, friends, relatives, whoever, and I'm going to stay here because this is and our ego steps in and makes this a challenge. Like Survivor. Who can outlast?
I think we need to make something perfectly clear, especially for those of us that may be going through something. The fact that you're going through something does not necessarily mean that you abandon ship. So I think we need to make it. I think we need to make it clear, as Arthur said. Okay, we all have something in us that our mates just did not stand. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean you abandon ship. However, once that toxicity gets to a point that you're actually drowning in acid, you're actually drowning in mental poison, that's when you make a decision on what you need to do. Now, our earlier conversation with people shared was based on how it went bad. Okay?
Yes.
And I would like for those that are still listening to understand this. Wait a second. Don't get off this talk show right here and then go tear your wife up or tear your husband up based on some of the stuff we talked about. We just need to recognize, because we're human beings, because We were not meant to be together. I understand that yoke stuff. I really do. I understand it from a biblical standpoint, but I also understand it from a secular standpoint. We were not born together. Twins aren't even born together. They're normally a couple of seconds or moments apart. So what that simply means is when we get into these relationships as such, we gotta work things out. We have to recognize things that are may not seem to be toxic, but can lead to it. I've always said this, as I stated earlier. At 66 years of age, I did not become a man until 20 years ago. Meaning, I evaluated myself. I should have known I was going to get a divorce based on the fact I went out every Friday night. That's ridiculous. Oh, and by the way, I didn't take my ex with me. Okay? So her percentage of the fault was, okay, baby, and didn't say anything. When it was eating her up, it was tearing her down. So my point is, there will always be something in your cabinets that needs to be cleaned out.
Okay.
And you clean it out together. You pick the right time to talk about it. You don't wait for, if it's a man, let's just use a man as an example. You don't wait for him to come home at 4 o'clock in the morning and decide you're going to jump out of bed, knowing darn well he's half zooted, and want to start arguing with him. That's not going to work. Okay?
Yeah.
So now that's an example to the extreme, but you have to pick the moments to bring it up.
Some of the stuff I definitely agree with that. At the same time, but once again, I always say at the same time, we yes, we want to work these things together, but sometimes it's not. Like I said, once again, like you said, using your analogies and saying like sometimes, hey, I might be a little bit, I may be acid, and she may be just Windex. So sometimes you have to go get something that's going to dilute you. That's for you, not necessarily her. To help you clean out that cabinet. She's going to be there for you, or he'll be there for you. You have to be, like I said, for he or she. But you have to clear. You have to get you right. You understand?
Great point. Great point.
You have to get you right. We have to sell. Like you said, you didn't become a man until 20 years ago. So what have you? So you have to. These are the things that we have to learn, and we have to throw these things out so we don't give this to someone else and add on to this toxicity that we're talking about. So we don't want to do this again. If we've done it once, we don't want to do it again. But some people may like that. But if you're truly into and understand life and love and truly, and you're saying I want to be better myself. I want to be, not because I have such and such next to me, not because I'm looking at doing it with this person over here. No, you yourself have to be better. And you have to work on yourself before you can say, well, we can do it together. No, we can't. Because now she's bringing 100%, but you're only bringing 75. Uh-oh.
Great point.
We're not equally yoked now. We're not equally yoked.
I say this, and I understand what you're saying. With each side need to bring 100 and 100, right? But I view it as this. Like with my relationship, Sometimes I'm not 100%, and she make up the other 20 that we miss. Sometimes she not 100. Sometimes she's only operating at 75%. I bring the other 25.
Only because you're 100% though. Only because she's 100%.
Yeah, and I understand. And really, we just talking semantics. But yeah, each person bringing stuff to your relationship to help grow, make it better. Rose. All right, we are. Man, it's almost 10 o'clock. Hey, yeah, hey. Shalita. I'm trying to remember. I got all these people online here. I'm trying to remember these names online. Okay, Shalita, what else you got to add to that?
Well, I'm gonna say to Dexter that I still think that you should always bring 100%. If I'm in the bed and the only thing I can do is say good morning to you, that's all I can give you. That's not 100%.
Hold on, I need you to speak up or something. I'm getting Dexter. Yeah, mute your stuff again. Shalita, start that over.
Oh, okay. I'm talking to responding to Dexter. I think that if just say I'm sick in the bed, and the only thing I can do is give you a smile and say good morning, and you have to help me do everything else. That good morning and that smile that I give you is the 100% I give you. That's my all. That's all I can give you. It's still 100%. Even though I'm not walking around, I'm not cooking, I'm not cleaning, I'm not going to work, I'm not helping out in the yard, helping you with the car, whatever it is, whatever I'm doing, I'm giving my all. That's my 100%, and vice versa.
Yes.
And I believe, like
I
agree.
as long as you,
I agree.
that's it. Never bring less than your all to this relationship. But we're gonna have, no matter what, we're gonna have some downfalls. We're gonna have some ups and downs. No matter what, bring your 100%.
That's well said. That's very well said, Shalita. Very well said.
Yeah. I agree. And
that
that's
put
the
it all
whole
in
thing.
perspective right there.
Right.
Vince.
And that's the same thing. Oh, go ahead, Vince.
Vince, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, what you got, Vince? What you think about that?
I mean, I think it's 100% true. I think everything that everybody's been saying tonight is true because there's no one right answer for this. It's all, as long as every answer and every response that everybody gave, from Dexter saying we need to address the red flags when they happen,
Yes.
from Arthur saying the man's perspective, how we see things, from Shalita when she said that when I said that some of the reasons were the reasons why people say is love, and then she gave another perspective on the reason why they say. Even though I still think love is one of them, I do agree with her because there's many aspects of many reasons why people stay when they know they should leave. One of them is low self-esteem, and that goes right into what Shalita said. So pretty much everything that everybody's been saying tonight is true. The one thing that brings it, the one common denominator of everything that everybody is saying is true, but the one common denominator, the reason why most people don't act on it is because, like what I think it was Dexter said, it was either Dexter, is people not addressing it when it needs to happen.
Yeah. You have to address
That's
it.
That's the common denominator. When you know that there's a toxic relationship or something toxic is brewing, the person, that's the common denominator, has to want to be able to address it and then remove themselves from it, or address it and then remove that, using the cleaning analogy, address it and moving that toxic behavior out of the relationship. That's the one common denominator of all this, the person.
Very true. Because once you accept it, you've taught a new standard in that relationship. Once you accept it, now you're telling this person that it's acceptable.
Right. I definitely agree with that. I agree with all that at the same time. This is but I also, like I said, just understanding that, when we, like I said, I think you definitely have to address it, okay, and address it the way you would want to be addressed at the same time, okay. So you can't come in that thing all fat and hot and heavy, fired up. I understand it's mad, it makes you upset. Whatever's happening, it's hurting you. You understand? And everybody gets that, and we understand that. But that's when it comes back down to respecting too, because you're gonna want that same thing. You don't want them to come hot and heavy at you, so you want to come in and smooth, kind of like what Dexter was saying. Don't come at 4 o'clock in the morning, after you done, what have you. But you want to just get on in there. I know you got to get it out. You have to get it out because you have to get it out. Like everybody was saying, you have to talk about it. But at the same time, once you do that, that's when I think the great thing. You have to do that. Once you do that, after that, you have to check yourself. Don't worry. I didn't do nothing. I ain't my fault. I didn't. Everybody. I said everybody, not one. And we ain't saying women, y'all. This is all of us. We have to check ourselves.
BINGO, BINGO, bingo.
All right. So now, with that, all right. We are almost at 10 o'clock. Man, okay. Rose, are you still there? All right. I want to thank you all for calling. Any of y'all got a last word before I close this thing out?
I just want to let you know that even though there's no NFL, there's USFL, so you need to come with a different time slot.
Not gonna happen, but okay. Thank you very much, Dexter. Go ahead and hang up. Vince, you got any final word?
No, I don't. But being that I should have been tuning in. But being this is and that I need to get on myself about it because you are my LB, so I should have been listening to this show more.
It's all good, man. I appreciate you coming in.
It's great conversation, great people, things that we as black people need to have. Conversations like this we need to have more often because these are the conversations that's going to lead us to a place where we can get. I have this saying when I see stuff on social media. I say I love and hate my people all at the same time because we do stuff. I love being black. But then I see some of the stuff we do that we bring on ourselves, and I hate the fact that we do that to ourselves.
Yeah.
And these are the type of conversations that's going to lead us from doing the type of things to ourselves that's going to make us look bad and that's going to damage us, not just internally but externally too. So great show.
I appreciate that, Frat. Ow.
Ole.
All right, man. Talk to you later. All right.
Yeah.
Arthur, what's your last word for this?
No, man. Like I said, it's great conversation, guys. I like it, and it's just I wish everybody the best in all their endeavors of relationship wise, and hopefully they can help their friends and families out, or if you're going through it themselves, to continue to go back to your foundation, as I keep telling everybody, and I hope you understand what that means. Go back to your foundation so you can understand what you need to do and get those answers that you need, and the answers will come if you seek it. Okay, so and the folks that understand, and they understand what I'm talking about. So
yes.
And I hope they all get it. So like I said, go back to your foundation, guys, and truly do it. You can pray to get them, but you don't know how to pray to keep them. At the same time,
yeah.
Or at the same, and that's both ways. It's never one. I'm not telling you to do that, in general, but you have to evaluate. We have to evaluate ourselves, okay? Just evaluate yourself and go from there.
All right, appreciate it.
That's all I got.
Have a good evening, and I'm saving the best for last. Shalita, how you want to wrap this thing up? What
I had
your final word?
My final word is something that you were saying to the first call. I think it was first. I came in like 15 minutes late.
First caller was Jackie.
Okay, second was Miss Tawanda. Is that her name?
Tawanda was the second caller, yes.
Okay, so one thing you were saying to her was that, somebody may hear your story and be helped. And one thing I talked to Arthur before, and one thing he always say is, we're not living these lives just for ourselves. Something that you're going through, it may help this person, that person, and you may help save them. So never be, I'll say, not scared, but be okay to tell your story, because remember, you are helping somebody else.
Absolutely. That's why I saved the best for last.
All right, y'all. We'll see y'all next time.
All right. Well, we will be on next week, and I have another topic has arisen. I think we might talk about baggage, but we gonna see.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, everybody, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up. It is almost 10 p.m. We actually went, about an hour and a half or so overtime, but it was a quality discussion, and I always appreciate that. I want to tell you all, as I always like to end every show, you all could have been anywhere at this moment in time. However, you decided to be here and decided to invite me in to share your space with you at this moment. As I like to end every show, we know the journey of life is a lesson. The classroom is always open, so let's live, let's learn, and let's all grow together. I'll see you all next week. Have a wonderful week coming up ahead.